Luke,
Yeah.
sir, you're up next.
Yeah.
I'll hit the music for you. We'll see what you got.
All right. Music's coming in. This story is called Skinwalker Sighting. I've always been a skeptic. Ghosts, aliens, monsters, they're all just stories to me. But after what I experienced in the Southwest, my perspective on the unknown has been forever altered. I was on a road trip with my best friend Jake. We decided to take a detour through the Navajo Reservation in Arizona, mainly because of the scenic beauty and the rich history of the area. We had heard tales of skinwalkers, but we laughed them off. They were myths, right? Our first day on the reservation was uneventful. We visited a few local spots, interacted with some of the locals, and set up camp near a canyon. As night fell, we sat around our campfire sharing stories and enjoying the serenity of the desert. Around midnight, Jake decided to turn in. I stayed up, mesmerized by the stars. The Milky Way stretched across the sky, and I felt a profound sense of peace. That is, until I heard it. A low, guttural growl echoed through the canyon. I froze, thinking it might be a coyote or a mountain lion. But then I heard a voice. It was distorted as if someone was speaking through a broken radio, but it was unmistakably Jake's voice. "Come here," it beckoned. Confused, I turned to our tent. Jake was sound asleep. The voice called out again, this time from the opposite direction. Grabbed a flashlight and shone it towards the source. What I saw will haunt me forever. Standing on a ridge was a figure. It looked like a man, but its limbs were elongated, and its eyes glowed a sickly yellow. He wore tattered clothing, and his skin was mottled gray. But the most disturbing part was its face. It was Jake's face. I stumbled back, my heart racing. The creature mimicked Jake's voice again. "Come here." It took a step towards me. Its movements jerky and unnatural. I bolted to the tent, shaking Jake awake. "We need to go now," I hissed. He looked at me, confused, but the urgency in my voice spurred him into action. We backed up as quickly as we could, the creature's voice echoing around us, mimicking our voices, our laughter, our conversations from earlier. We sped away in our car. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The creature stood in the middle of the road watching us, its yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. We didn't stop driving until we reached the nearest town. We checked into a motel, and I spent the night researching skinwalkers. Legends say they were witches who take the form of animals or people, using their voices to lure victims. I don't know what we encountered that night, but I do know one thing. Some stories are real. The Southwest is beautiful, but it holds secrets that are beyond comprehension. I'll never set foot on that reservation again. To all of you reading this, please be careful when you venture into unknown territories. Some legends are rooted in truth, and some nightmares are very, very real.
Oh, so yeah, it reminded me of Fallout. Hey, smooth skin. You know, I'm talking about New Vegas.
Yeah, the ghouls.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. You're like, I think he could be your companion, but he always called you Smooth Skin.
Yeah.
That's terrifying, though. So I actually I'm not really familiar with these kind of stories, Skinwalker. It's actually the first one I've really heard of.
I am very familiar with Skinwalker stories. I read a lot of them. They're almost all identical, like similar story. And the Navajo very much believed in them.
As they always mimic people? Like, what the hell was he doing?
Yes, they would mimic people, or they mimic animals, like a dingo, or not dingo, a coyote, or some other wild dog. And then, but yes, they would take the form of people, and they would call out in the night, trying to call you out there to go visit them. And then, if you went out there, chances are you would be killed.
Tell me more about the Skinwalkers if I'm not familiar. Said witch? Legend has it?
Yes, a witch. They would, or a tribe of witches of some sort. or some people describe them as not even like humans, so it's hard to call them witches. They practice an old magic. They are able to take the form of other people and things. Whether the question of whether or not they're true or whether they exist, that's one thing, but I will say that they are very much believed in by the Native Americans in the area. This is not something that they talk about like to fool like tourists. This is something they very much believe in, and they are very much afraid of.
He didn't seem very confrontational, though, in this instance.
So they got to get you to come to them. That's the only thing I've ever heard that's like across all the stories. They want you to come to them, and then they'll catch you.
Then that's why you say, come here, here, let me have some candy.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, just to recap though, so what, his friend was asleep, right? So he knew it absolutely was not his friend, but...
Yes, he was asleep, and he could hear what was like a distorted version of his friend's voice from across the campsite.
Did it look like his friend at all?
The face resembled his friend, but the body was elongated limbs and had yellow eyes. And very gray mottled skin, almost like leather, what I've heard other people describe it as.
People got some questions popping up here. Why would they need you to come to them? One person asked.
There are a couple different reasons that I've read and different stories from Native Americans talking about this. And some say that it is for food, and some is for turning you into a skinwalker as well.
How does one get turned into a skinwalker?
I don't know for sure, but I believe it is something similar, like a ritual that they perform, a magical ritual. The couple of scattered stories that I've read.
Maggie, hey Maggie, she's asking, or she says actually more or less a statement, they can change forms?
Yes, they can change forms. It's different people and different animals.
So like if I want to be like a raccoon skinwalker, I'm just like...
Yeah, they can totally morph their bone structure and everything and kind of form into. Yeah, they're always a little bit off. So like slightly longer legs. So like you see a raccoon with like 1-2 foot long legs, that's a skinwalker.
What about a Kodiak bear?
Kodiak bear is a nightmare enough on its own. Doesn't need to be a skinwalker.
I'm curious. We'll have to talk more about the skinwalkers one day. I'm really intrigued.
I've got a couple saved for another night.
You just act like you pushed up your glasses. Like
scratching the
side. Okay. I thought you were just like...
the anime guy pushed up the
glass. Jack would be proud. So little Emery out there if he ever listens. That was a cool story, dude. I can't wait to hear more stories about that. That's terrifying. Is there a start? Let me ask this.
Yeah.
Someone said a Kodiak bear with 4-inch legs, just rolling. I guess I don't know.
That would be even more terrifying. I don't know why, but that just sounds horrible, right?
He said it shook the trees around him. I can't get up for that. Is there a certain area where they're more around, historically speaking? Is it in this area they're talking about?
Yeah, the Southwest United States is a big hotbed.
Skinwalker hotbed.
Yeah, the Western and Southwest. And particularly Navajo reservations and stuff like that is where they're really concentrated around. And there's a couple stories. I read one from Utah that we'll probably talk about in another episode. That was a pretty spooky story. It's one of those things that's like that can't be real, right? But then you have like hundreds of years of people talking about them, and they all follow the same patterns.
Yeah,
it's specifically the yellow eyes.
That's what it stood out to me. You gotta talk about the yellow eyes.
Yeah,
I just hope they talk like the ghoul. You actually did a pretty good impersonation of the ghoul too when you were doing that story.
Yeah,
you should have said smooth skin though. That would have been better.
Hey, smooth skin, listen, you gotta go there and get those Nuka-Colas.
Yeah. I hope somebody screen recorded that. Oh, that made my day. That was an awesome story, though. I actually really enjoyed that one.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here? Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?